Igbo man doesn't kneel for anybody except his chi, says Senator Abaribe. This week, I am continuing with my no-host bad interviews with some outspoken Nigerian leaders. As soon as we settled down for the interview in his office at the National Assembly, my first question to Senator Abaribe, the Senate minority leader, was to tell me about the 3 attempts to impeach him when he was the deputy governor of Abia State and the circumstances that surrounded his resignation from that office in 2003. He explained that he and Governor Ojuzo Kalu were sworn in on May 29, 1999, and by August of the same year, things had begun to go awry between them. There were 3 attempts to impeach him. The first was in August 1999, but after he responded to the charges by the State House of Assembly within the statutory 14 days, he was exonerated. The second attempt was in mid-2000. The House wrote to him again to respond to some charges, but without giving him the statutory 14 days to reply, went ahead to write the Chief Judge of the state to constitute an impeachment panel against him. He refused to appear before the panel, but instead challenged the proceedings in court on 2 grounds: that due process was not followed and that he was denied fair hearing. The court ruled that he did not have the jurisdiction to hear the case. He appealed against the judgment, but the appeal court upheld the judgment of the lower court by arguing that the judiciary should not descend into the murky waters of politics, though he narrowly escaped impeachment when the Abia State House voted on the matter. He argued that one of the fallout from the appeal court judgment was a rash of illegal impeachment of governors: Peter Obi in Anambra State, Joseph Dariye in Plateau State, and Rashid Ladoja in Oyo State. He said it was only when Ladoja was impeached by the Oyo State House of Assembly by less than the number of lawmakers required by the Constitution that he went to the Supreme Court, which reversed the impeachment on the ground that due process was not followed. He said the Supreme Court essentially held that the court is not supposed to interfere in the decision of the House of Assembly, but only insofar as they follow due process, he said. On the 3rd attempt to impeach him in 2003, he decided to resign because by then he had been suspended and frozen from the party. He sent his resignation letter by courier on March 7, 2003 and decamped to another party to challenge Ojuzo Kalu in the 2003 Abia State governorship election, but lost. One of the unfortunate things that happened, however, was that the young man who innocently received my DHL mail and signed for it was sacked. On the recourse of the quarrel between me and Governor Uzo Kalu, he demurred, promising that the details would be in his forthcoming book, though he mentioned that one of the reasons was that the new set of governors had military mindsets, and Governor Ojuzo Kalu often boasted of being one of the Babangida boys. He said his relations with Ojuzo Kalu these days are cordial. I asked him to tell me more about his involvement in securing bail of Ralph Wazurike, leader of the banned secessionist movement for the actualization of sovereign state of Biafra (MASOB) in 2007, and of Nnamdi Kanu, leader of IPOB, whom he stood shorty for. He explained that when Ralph Wazurike was arrested and detained, the Southeast Caucus of the 6th Senate, led by the late Uche Chukwumereje, decided to go and see late President Yar'Adua, whom he called a great man. With Yar'Adua, they made a fairly simple case for Wazirike and MASOB. Those talking about Biafra were essentially crying out because of certain policies of the federal government, which gave the impression that the Igbo are being treated unfairly in this country. They advised that the best way to deal with such agitators was not to round and lock them up and then throw away the key, but rather to engage them in dialogue with a view to discussing their grouses and finding out how they thought such could be remedied. They were eventually able to secure bail for Wazurike, and and they, the Southeast senators, stood shorties for him without any monetary condition being attached to his release. For the Nnamdi Kanu saga, there's a lot you can say about it, but when you look at the basics and the fundamentals, it remains the same, just like they did with Yaradua. The Southeast Senate caucus, now under the leadership of Abaribe, also met Buhari over the detention of Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu was ultimately granted bail, but with a humongous figure of 100 million naira shorty for each detained person, and there were 3 of them. The senators rallied around and perfected the bail conditions. He talked about his experiences as a shorty for Nnamdi Kanu, especially after the IPOB leader apparently jumped bail. Senator Abaribe was at a point arrested and detained by the DSS and his home searched. I asked about the Igbo mantra of marginalization and whether the internal contradictions in the Igbo society, such as not having a leader they can rally around, is not facilitating such marginalization. So let me start from the point at which you also started. That is our different policies, a point that the late Gani Fayemi described as the Kabiyesi syndrome. He explained that the Kabiyesi syndrome is a situation where you defer to any authority figure to such an extent that you can't even question anything he does. Actually, the Igbo system extols collective decision making. The Igbo egalitarianism is actually more suited to a democratic system than the other systems. But for the aberration in our democracy, so what is going on today is that whoever emerges as an authority figure in other system is seen as a Kabiyesi whose word is law and who can do no wrong. The Igbo man doesn't kneel down for anybody except his chi, but the man who comes from elsewhere because of his tradition, he can kneel down before authority figures. If you want to know more about the Igbo worldview, I will recommend 2 books by Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart and No Longer at Ease. He explained that because of the Igbo's trajectory of egalitarianism, what you have in Igbo land is a collection of leaders, not one single leader. He contended that the difference between the North and the East is not the fact that the man in the North being more politically conscious. It is the fact of religion. Islam as a religion encompasses your life, your politics, your government, and everything. Christianity as a religion does not encompass all that. The man in the North can then be told that person told that person to protect his religion and thus protect his life. But the man in the South who is a Christian but may be Roman Catholic automatically loses interest if the leader in question is Anglican, for instance. On the Supreme Court judgment which sacked Emeka Ihedioha as governor of Imo State and declared Hope Uzodinma, who came fourth in the election, as the duly elected governor, he expressed concerns that the Supreme Court's decision might have gone against its own precedent, which has to do with the Evidence Act. And in the Evidence Act, in every decided case that we have had till today, with regard to election cases, it always says that every document you bring to prove. For instance, if you bring a result sheet to court to tie it to prove, you have to bring the maker of that result. He argued that under the Evidence Act, the policeman that brought results from the 388 polling unit was more of a third party, and his evidence was more in the realm of hearsay. The danger today is this: if I go into an election and INEC shows up and conducts the election, I can go behind and print my own set of electoral materials, write my own results, and then we get to the Supreme Court. My lawyer will now say, my lord, at the point at which this same matter came to you, in Hope Uzodinma versus Ihedioha, you ruled to accept the results. I ask if he has plans to retire or move into higher office, having been in frontline politics since 1999. He argued that politicians do not really retire, though they can change gear. In institutions such as the parliament, the longer you stay, the better you become. But then, as they say, nobody knows tomorrow. Everything is in the hands of faith and the hands of God. Wow, this is really interesting. I wouldn't want to say much. He has said everything. And someone says here that an Igbo bows to no one, not even to his chi, if he has passed the test of Ofona Ogu. That is the test of probity and innocence. Once an Igbo man passes this moral test, he confidently asks his chi to help him succeed. And according to Igbo traditional religion, his chi has no choice in the matter other than to help him succeed. His chi is duty bound to work for his success. How can one beat a person who so believes in one-to-one competition? Viola, then the secret of Igbo success in any and every area of human endeavor. What I believe is that everybody with their own tradition, and you go with your tradition and with your culture. Nobody can force anybody to do, otherwise. If this is what you believe, good and fine. If that's what other people believe, good and fine. Respect each other's culture, and that is the way it is. When people always say, oh, the Igbos, they don't have respect. No, that is their culture. And when you see Yoruba people, they say, oh, they are loyal to a fault. That is their culture, and they are good and cool with that. In the northern part of the country, in other minority tribes too, they have their culture. Culture differs from people to people, and you must respect that. The one that you know that is good for you, you go with it. You can't impose other people's culture, on other people. So that is just the way I see the whole thing. I really commend Abaribe, even with what he has been doing. You can imagine if you hear the stories, what has been happening before now. This man has really been man of the people, and you can see today that everybody is celebrating him. Everybody is celebrating him. So I think it's kudos to him. Someone said, thou shalt not bow down to no other being except your God. Any other thing is an eye service. Really? Someone said, you are a great man indeed. I love that God through Igbo blood. Igbo knelt down only to their chi. Bam, bam. Senator Abaribe, the man of the people, of course, yes. Boss, keep it up. God is your strength. We love your courage and your love for Nigerians. I love this man called Abaribe. He is a wise man that can tell the truth without fear. Yes, you could see him on the floor of the Senate. You could see the hunger in him. You could see that he felt what it is. It was not. It goes beyond party, and that was why he said he's waiting for Femi Adesina, who is always criticizing people when they complain of what is hurting them, and at the end of the day, try to tempt them or tag them as a acting like political party. That since they themselves, they are the ones, in Senate, that you should come and tell them that they are playing politics with all of these things. And before you knew it, all of them, all the APC people, they started, raising their hands just to shut him down. And none of them is even bothered about what is happening. I'm just trying to digress. We're still going to come back to that, even when I'm going to do another video. But all being said, the man is well respected, and, he has really made name for himself. He didn't just start now. You could see how he started since 1999 to date. And people still reckon with him. And he loves his people. And that's what we are talking about. We know that politicians, they have their flaws here and there. But we still have pockets of them, few of them like that, who still do the right thing. And they would definitely stand out. They would definitely stand out, not those ones who are always, doing eye service. And at the end of the day, what they are going to say behind is going to be different. You could imagine most of them who were at the floor of the Senate, they have their own reservations, but they cannot come out of fear or out of intimidation or whatever reason that is keeping them not to even speak. So guys, let's hear your own take concerning what Abaribe has really explained. Leave your comments below and let's have your take. Thank you very much for always being there.